Whew. Hello, guys. Welcome back to Chapter 1 and Beyond. Today's episode is the long awaited episode 11 of Tried or Trash It. So I'm really excited because of the fact that this was a pretty lengthy list, and I'm not gonna lie, with taking a week vacation, it really threw off how I was going to get these recordings out. So I apologize, sort of. I do apologize because I am trying to be more consistent with the schedule that I have. So on Tuesdays of every week, you should be getting a episode from me for Try It or Trash It, whether it's an update or it's an actual installment of the series. And then on Fridays, I just do like a regular either monthly wrap up, TBR, just random, longer episodes on Fridays. And that's supposed to be occurring every single week. But in true fashion, I got off my schedule again, but it's okay because we're here. I have updates for you. I finished the entire list, so let's talk about that. And then, the going into the next few weeks, and even into June here, I have some pretty hefty reading goals. So, maybe we'll talk about that too. But so in episode 10, we had 6 books that were drawn into this because of the fact that I had the Memorial Day weekend, where I knew I was going to have a lot more time to read. And it was a very successful reading. Honestly, I had a lot of time to be able to physically read, and it was quite enjoyable, just because of the fact that I was able to just really knock out quite a few of books that were on my shelf, and a lot of them were classics. So the list that I had drawn from the previous episode was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. We had Paradise Lost by John Milton, Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling, Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt, and then Moonfleet by J. Mead Faulkner. So I'm just going to go right down the list in true fashion to let you guys know my thoughts. I loved every single one of these books in some way, shape, or form. I've been trying to expand my ability to read more classics. I've just been really interested in just diving into books that have already been published, and I feel like they deserve to be read. A lot of them have been really acclaimed classics, and everyone talks about them, so I'm like, okay, I really need to add these to my list. And I mean, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne is the staple of adventure sci-fi-esque classic. Anything that has Jules Verne name attached, I've been just hearing you have to read it. And it did not disappoint. The version that I have is the Paper Mill Press edition. I love these covers and these editions because they're just so I just feel like I'm kind of embracing some special edition, if you will, when it's really just the edition that I have. So, but I gave this one a 4-star rating. I really liked it a lot. I loved how, it kind of gave me a different sort of adventure, if you will, compared to some other adventure and sci-fi books that I've been reading in the past. I really enjoyed it. And I've been finding that some of the Jules Verne books, according to Hardcover app, it's claimed to be in a series, but I feel like they really just stand alone on their own. So yeah. So yeah, 4 stars. I definitely recommend, if you're into kind of more of a, I don't know, how to describe it, but they, the sea creatures and just the entire build through the story was great. And it was definitely not something that I'm used to reading when it comes to sci-fi. So if you are looking for, I know that's really broad, but this is the best way that I can really describe it at this point. so, but I really enjoyed Jules Verne like writing and everything. So I definitely agree with the general population that Jules Verne is definitely an author that you need to put on your list for classics. I definitely am looking forward to picking up more of Jules Verne books. I believe I have quite a few more on my shelf, but this one is definitely staying, and I'm definitely going to repeatedly come back to this one because I really think both of my kids would love this book in the future. The next one is Paradise Lost by John Milton. So this is a poem that actually I read in high school, and I wanted to revisit this just because of the fact that I remember this being a really large topic piece that I had to cover within my English class. And I do remember like really enjoying it, but I really enjoyed this a lot more as rereading it as an adult. And I definitely gave this one a 5-star rating. I could not put this one down. I like the edition that I had because it kind of gave you like kind of the translation. It had like these summaries at the beginning so that you knew like what to kind of expect from that excerpt of the poem, and just overall it was great. It was fantastic. Definitely recommend if you're really big into poetry, and I've been actually trying to find ways to incorporate more poetry pieces into my reading, because I used to read a lot of poetry, but I definitely think like John Milton Paradise Lost is definitely something, if you're looking for classic poetry, like there's like the whole like, Christian Bible story of Adam and Eve and the devil, and it was really interesting because like I'm not very religious. Like I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on this podcast, but I am not religious in any bit. I know growing up I was confirmed a Catholic, but I don't practice, and I don't I'm not really into organized religion. I respect people that do it, but it's just not my thing. But I find it really interesting, like a lot of the things that I learned as a kid from church and everything, on how, this is kind of, I can see how people are kind of perceiving this as controversial, I guess, in a way, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. So yeah, 5 stars. It was only like 288 pages, like the actual bulk of the poem. So, I mean, it didn't really take me too long at all. I physically read both books that I've mentioned so far. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. Okay, this book really surprised me. This book I gave a 4-star rating. The only reason why I didn't do 5-star rating was because I was a little bored in some spots. I was like, this is really not making any sense why we're talking about this boarding school and how special they are. And then when I got the big old drop of what it actually is, I was like, oh my God, this is insanity. Like, Kazuo Ishiguro, I've never actually read books of Kazuo Ishiguro, and I appreciate the craft that this author does, and I was blown away. I was like borderline about to cry because of how crazy this book was. And I just was, I was just like, I don't know. I was not expecting like where it led. And I have read other books that are similar to this topic. And, it was more of like rebellion, but I was not expecting the ending and like the build and the way that this story went, but it was fantastic. I can see why a lot of people on the BookTube community were mentioning this book, and I appreciate people talking about this book because you don't really see topics talked to, like, I mean, there are like other versions of this book that, book topic that exist out in the literary world, but it's very interesting seeing it from this perspective and how this was approached, is all I'm going to say. So, if you are into like kind of, you know, if you're into just like kind of like more of a like a literary portion of this type of sci-fi, I kind of relate it to sci-fi, but I'm going to be honest with you. I actually don't know what hardcover actually labels this as. I'll have to look that up because I'm really curious. I'm actually going to look that up right now just so that I accurately say this. Never Let Me Go. Yeah, so this was like published back in 2000. So it definitely took a while. There's definitely over 1,000. Yeah, it is actually labeled on. Okay, yeah, so I was right. It's psychological, it's science fiction, dystopian, and literary. So yeah, like I was on point with that. At least that's what it's saying on hardcover. So, but I mean, definitely something that I was not expecting with like the ending. You really have to like push through it because there was just a lot that I like thought was just super boring. But now that, I understand the entirety of it and like just like I continue to push through it, and I may or may not have like kind of spoiled some things for myself just because like I was like, is this really worth like pushing through it? I'm glad I did. So yeah, definitely 4 stars on this one. The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. I mean, this is like, if you like grew up with Disney like movies and things like that, you definitely have seen like, especially 90s classic Disney. Jungle Book was like the biggest of the stories among Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, things like that. I love that movie to death, but this book was like nothing like the Disney movie, obviously. But like I can see where like the inspiration was taken for this story. And I really, really enjoyed it. I really think my kids would love this. It was like under 156 pages, so I couldn't go wrong with it. I definitely gave it a 4-star rating. I like literally devoured several of these books physically in one day, which I was really, really surprised because usually it takes me kind of like the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook by Matt Dinman. It's taking me a hot minute to get through that book. But I mean, with it being like kind of like level of juvenile kids books, I can kind of see, how, I like kind of speed up the process, if you will. So yeah, so that one gave 4-star. I will be keeping that one. I will say the Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I am going to unhaul that one. I guess that's what the cool kids call it, unhauling. I just feel like now that I've read it and now that I've kind of like, oh, this is the big reveal, I'm not going to be able to reread this. So, because I already know what happens, but it's kind of like thrillers. And now I'm like wishing that I didn't purchase this one and I would have gotten it through the library. So that is one of the ones on this list that will be unhauled from my physical TBR. It's okay because the local little library is going to be able to benefit from it. The Jungle Book will stay on my shelf, by the way. And then Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. There was a scene in this book that I was like, holy crap, how is this a kid's book? If you've read this book, please let me know in the comments if you know what scene I'm talking about. It's when May Tuck and the dad, I'm sorry, the name is escaping me, but they were describing what the dad had done to discover that he, was who he was. And I was just like, okay, like this really is in a kid's book. I'm like, interesting. Now that I've like read this as an adult, I still love the crap out of this book. Like I gave it solid 5 stars. I could not put it down. I spent probably an entire morning going from start to finish. I could not put it down. Like it was very hard for me to put it down. So I just love everything about this book, and the writing is fantastic, and I'm so glad I have a copy of my own on this book, because I could totally see myself rereading this book many times over again, kind of like what I do with my Harry Potter series. So yeah, 5 stars, hands down. Cannot recommend this book enough. If you like more of like a kind of magical, eclectic type story, and honestly, the edition that I have, it was very fast to read because the font was like absolutely huge, and just the writing in general is for kids. So they rate it for 10 to 13 or 14-year olds. So I mean, or I think it's like actually 10 to 12-year olds, but still it's like my daughter's age reading, and I still hands down love it. So yeah, that one will be staying on my shelf. And then we have Moonfleet by J. Mead Faulkner. This one surprised me a lot because I was not expecting, like, I wasn't expecting something like a high heist type, Pirates of the Caribbean type, like, book for a classic. I thought that was just kind of like a nuanced thing that was inspired from Treasure Island, which actually is on my shelf and I haven't read, and I feel like maybe I can kind of compare the two, but I really enjoyed this one. It was a lot darker and more like gothic feeling, I feel like, from, my experience with this. And, it was another middle grade, like, young kid read, and honestly, could not put this one down either. I did not read this with, Tuck Everlasting. I think I kind of combined it with Paradise Lost, and I think a little combination end of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It was one of the last physical reads that I enjoyed. Honestly, I think in some capacity, every single one of these were just physical reads. I know at one point I did have the audiobook for Never Let Me Go, but it was like maybe a chapter that I listened to, and then the rest of it was just physically read. So I was really impressed with myself, because usually it's the other way around. I'm constantly devouring via audiobook and then barely reading physically. So I feel like this list really encompassed a lot of what I was truly hoping to get from this series, is to physically pick up a book more. And I mean, regardless, for me, like listening to a book, reading a book, physically having it in hand versus like a digital copy, it doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. So a book consumed is a book to me. So, but yeah. So Moonfleet, I believe I gave this a 4-star rating. Let me double check to make sure. Yes, I did give this a 4-star. So, I mean, heck, we had quite a good reading list here. So nothing was under nothing under like 3 stars or under. Like, we had nothing on there. So that's awesome. Okay, so the drill of this series is to now pick out new books. So yeah, so I'm going to get my spinner wheel out, and we're going to do our first pick here. So without further ado, let's spin the wheel and see where we land. Okay, cool. All right, so the first book that I got was The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Honestly, it is long overdue that this book needs to be read. This book has been on my shelf for some time. I know at one point I had picked up the audiobook and then I put it back because a lot of it was just going way over my head. But but yeah, so The Starless Sea by Aaron Morgenstern was published in 2019. It is a 494 page book. This is the same author that wrote The Night Circus. So if you do know what that book is, it was absolutely fantastic. Aaron Morgenstern is like the guru when it comes to storytelling, let me tell you. But this one is her other book, and what the description says is far beneath the surface of the earth, upon the shores of the starless sea, there is a labyrinth collection of tunnels and rooms filled with stories. The entryways that led to the sanctuary are often hidden, sometimes on forest floors, sometimes in private homes, sometimes in plain sight. But those who seek will find. Their doors have been waiting for them. Zachary Ezra Rollins is searching for his door, though he does not know it. He follows a silent siren song and inexplicable knowledge that he is meant for another place. When he discovers a mysterious book in the stacks of his campus library, he begins to read, entranced by tales of lovelorn prisoners, lost cities, and nameless acolytes. Suddenly, a turn of the page brings Zachary to a story from his own childhood, impossibly written in his book that is older than he is. A bee, a key, and a sword emblazoned on the book led Zachary to two people who will change the course of his life. Maribel, a fierce pink-haired painter, and Dorian, a handsome barefoot man with shifting alliances. These strangers guide Zachary through masquerade party dances and whispered backroom stories to the headquarters of a secret society where doorknobs hang from ribbons, and finally through a door conjured from paint to the place he has always yearned for. Amid twisting tunnels filled with books, gilded ballrooms, and wine-dark shores, Zachary falls into an intoxicating world soaked in romance and mystery. But a battle is raging over the fate of this place, and though there are those who would willingly sacrifice everything to protect it, there are just as many intent on its destruction. As Zachary, Maribel, and Dorian venture deeper into the space and its histories and myths, searching for answers in each other, a timeless love story unspools, casting a spell of pirates, painters, lovers, liars, and ships that sail upon a starless sea. It sounds really good. I normally am not a fan of romance, but this one sounds really good. So this is a fantasy fiction, LGBTQ plus, and romance, which actually falls really great with my Pride Month reads. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, so I am definitely putting this high on my list when it comes to these picks, because this is one that I've really been trying to visit for some time, and I just think that it is the perfect time to be reading this book. And since I had just read Moonfleet, I feel like, hey, what's another pirate story? Excuse me. I don't know if it's kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean, but I would think after reading the Night Circus and knowing how Aaron Morgenstern writes, I'm in for a real great treat with this one. So I am really excited about this. Let's dive into the next pick. So this next pick is probably going to be the last one. I know in previous week, the previous episode I did 6 books, but knowing on how much I'm going to have to commit towards reading, in some of the books that I am trying to finish, I think that this next one, we're just going to do 2 for this. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. So this next pick that just got selected is called It by Stephen King. Okay. Um, oh my gosh. I don't. This book. All right. Let me get up I need to gather my thoughts for this at first because this is a 1986 published book that is over 1,300 pages. In order to get you guys an update within 1 to 2 weeks, um, my God, I've never read a 1,300 page book within 2 weeks. So let's be realistic here. um, I probably could knock off one whole book. Like the Starless Sea, I could definitely knock off in a week. But I may have to stretch this episode if I'm going to keep this on here for an additional week, maybe more. Because I know when I had read The Way of Kings by Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, that definitely took me some time. But I needed the audiobook to help me push through it. So, okay. I mean, it's been an overdue book that I wanted to read. Um, I feel like I need to try it because I've been itching for a good Stephen King book. Do have quite a few of them on my shelf. Like I have The Running Man still and Firestarter. I have Fairy Tale as well. So I feel like I kind of need to knock this out, but I'm a little intimidated by its size. I mean, 1,376 pages to properly give you guys like an update within 2 weeks and complete this list. That is that is an underhaul. Let me see if I can get the audiobook on Libby because that might also kind of help with things. Oh, you know what? I can get the audiobook. Okay, well this is pushing me over the edge a little bit. Okay, well, so let's kind of follow the format, Christina. My gosh. All right, so the format here, the book info that is listed, we have it's published in 1986. It is 1,376 pages long, and the description reads, "Welcome to Derry, Maine. It's a small city, a place as hauntingly familiar as your own hometown. Only in Derry, the haunting is real. There were 7 teenagers when they first stumbled upon the horror. Now they are grown up men and women who have gone out into the big world to gain success and happiness. But the promise they made 28 years ago calls them reunite in the same place where, as teenagers, they battled an evil creature that preyed on the city's children." The fact that this has a clown, I'm like not looking forward to that. It is a horror, thriller, suspense, fantasy, fiction. Oh no, there are trigger warnings. Let's see what the trigger warnings are. Oh no, it's got sexual assault in it. You guys, you know me with this essay like trigger warning. I hope it's not. I hope it's not detailed. If you know what I mean, A Little Life by Hanyu Yanagara, and I probably botched up that last name because I hate that author so much now. And then Khalid Hosseini, The Kite Runner. Definitely not a fan of those books, only because of the graphic sexual assault situations that happen in that book, and I just makes me want to just be sick. Now I'm going back and forth if I even want to try this. I feel like I need to. If I wonder how descriptive, because I mean Stephen King really loves to get into details with what he loves to do, and I don't know. Maybe, okay, here's what I'm going to suggest. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it a whirl, but the moment that scene comes up, and if it's too much, I'll just kind of skip ahead, because I can't be getting myself in a bad mental state over a book. So, I mean, the average ratings are 4.1 star. So, that says a lot. And there's 1,593 ratings on hardcover. So, I feel like I do kind of need to try this. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I feel like a lot of people have already read this book, so maybe you guys can give me a heads up in the comment thread, like how bad, um, the SA sexual assault scene is. Um, I mean, I'll give it a whirl. I mean, I've been hearing that this is probably one of the best Stephen King books out of all of his books, but there's a lot of people that have very mixed opinions, and a lot of people that will say, The Running Man or even Pet Cemetery is one of his greatest things, So I guess it really depends. Um, but yeah. Okay, well, we're going to add it to the list. We're going to give it a try. I think I'm going to do It by Stephen King first, so that in case the SA scene in this book is too much, at least I'll have the beautiful, magical, eclectic, Starless Sea to kind of wipe out my brain. So originally I wanted to do that one first, but I think it might be smarter to do It by Stephen King first, just in case things get a little dark and grimy. At least with the Starless Sea, I can kind of like be transported into more of a magical journey. So I like that strategy. We'll go with that. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts. I would love to be able to interact with you guys more. So if you can like, subscribe, and share the podcast, that would be great. It really means a lot to the amount of people that have been actually reaching out on my Facebook page. I do have a Chapter 1 and Beyond Facebook page, so please go check that out. Obviously, I'm on Apple Podcasts, I'm on Spotify, I'm on YouTube. Check all of that out, because honestly, it's fantastic, what's happening with this podcast. But yeah, if you haven't checked out all the previous episodes too, I do have quite a few different things out there. Not just the Try It or Trash It series, but there's ARC reviews, and there's reading challenges and all that jazz on my podcast. So go check out those previous episodes as well, wherever you access podcasts. But thank you so much for joining today. I will see you guys in the next installment of Try It or Trash It. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.